When many people think of Appalachian history, they think of Daniel Boone crossing the Cumberland Gap, bringing with him European, Anglo, and German people to shape the wilderness. But the lives that shape Appalachian history are much more diverse than that. In this storytelling project, we have folk tales from Anglo origins, but also stories from Syrian, Cherokee, African American, and Italian sources come to life. All these stories shape Appalachian history, especially here in eastern Kentucky. Herein is this weaving of stories from all sorts of Appalachians.
My name is Ron Patrick. Actually, it's Ronnie, R-O-N-N-I-E, Southern boy. My Cherokee given name is Asagaya Tawodi Digadoli, which means man who sees with hawk eyes. I currently live in Columbus, Ohio, but I was born in Hindman, Kentucky, just outside Hindman, Kentucky, in a home that was called Joyland. I'm not sure how it got its name, but it did. And living close to my family there, my grandmother and grandfather and aunts and uncles, all in the same area, right there, close. I grew up I started school in a two-room schoolhouse. We climbed the side of the mountain up to the school, and it was 2 rooms, one from 1st grade through 6th grade, and the other grade was 7 through 8 in the other room before they went to high school. We had no running water, we had a pump, we had an outhouse, and we had a basketball goal, and if the basketball went over the hill, then basketball was over for the day. But my family still lives, I have a lot of family still lives around the Hindman area. My dad was born in Ball, Kentucky, and still have relatives there. So I have deep roots in Kentucky, and my parents moved north as part of that migration to Ohio to look for work when there wasn't any around. And so our people, we have done a lot of research regarding where we came from. Although there were Cherokee people and lots of other tribes living in Kentucky long before we migrated up. But we did come from North Carolina into Western Virginia, into Kentucky, the eastern part of Kentucky around Hindman there, and that's where we still are. One of the things a lot of people talk about, especially in eastern Kentucky and other places, or anywhere, Virginia, West Virginia, North Carolina even, was the fact that there was such discrimination after removal. I remember my grandmother wouldn't put money in the bank because she was worried that they were going to remove her and take her away. So there was a lot of discrimination. People didn't want to be associated with Cherokee or other native tribes, the Delaware and other things like that, because they were afraid that somehow there'd be incrimination from the government. So they hid. And just these days, they're coming to acknowledge that heritage and try to reclaim a lot of that. So if you're one of those people, I would say to you, if you go to North Carolina, to Cherokee Reservation, or to Oklahoma, to the Cherokee Nation, there is no such thing as a Cherokee princess. And if you want to talk to the folks there who are full-blood folks, I would really recommend you do not say, well, my grandmother or my great-grandmother was a Cherokee princess. There was no such thing. And they'll know right away, and they'll stop talking to you because you lose your credibility. I became interested in the Cherokee culture, and there was always this hush and sort of low talk regarding our heritage, and you'd hear my grandmother talk about it, especially when I would go over to Caney or around Pippa Passes to see my grandmother, my great-grandmother and her family there, and my uncles. But it became much more pronounced for me after my grandfather passed away, and our family started talking about it a lot more. And it was just a passage of love and seeking and trying to figure out what's going on. My grandfather was a lay, old regular Baptist preacher, called to the Word, he would say. I remember having church in his house sometimes, or sometimes eventually going to a small church they had, and a lot of fellow preachers, passing on the Word from there. But part of it was a spiritual walk for me. I never could quite make the jump to Christianity. I wanted to because I love my grandfather and grandmother so much, and they believe so strongly. But I just could not, in good faith, with a good heart, make that jump. I remember asking my grandfather when I was 6, if I was born in China, and if I'd never heard of Jesus, would I go to hell? She said, yeah. He said, yeah. So I always was confused ever since. So that walk after my grandfather passed away, I started looking and researching and doing and getting my grandmother to talk more about what was going on and tell me more stories, and my aunts and uncles and what they knew, and eventually went to North Carolina to the Eastern Band, in Cherokee, North Carolina, and started doing research there and talking to folks and trying to get a better handle. Eventually was asked to come in to the medicine by a medicine teacher, and he shared that sometimes you just got to really trust your heart, and it doesn't matter what religion, it matters that you walk a path of balance and harmony and peace and love, and that was Nuwati, the way of right relationship, which I found much easier to follow in that tradition. So ever since that, I've been practicing traditional old teachings about spiritual practice, and hope that serves me well. So I have cousins who are still very interested in the Cherokee way and their tradition. One of the things that I wanted to share too about the native thinking in general is we accommodated, and we're trying to accommodate very early, because we Native people, at least in the old way, think what they call in a circular pattern. Now, it's not a circular philosophical argument, which has problems with it, but it's not this or that. Our thinking is it's this and that. There's truth and beauty in all ways of thinking and being in the world. And so that to me was the way why many Native people were converted to Christianity and other religions, because it wasn't an either or, it was this and that. So I can still go to Cherokee, North Carolina, and go to a Baptist church there or a Methodist church, and they will have the service both in Cherokee and English. So it's a beautiful marriage. So that's the interest I've had. I do reenacting as a 1750s Cherokee warrior and have all the regalia, and I play the Native American flute, especially the river cane flute. That was the first flute that we used because river cane or bamboo was very readily available, and that's what the flute makers made out of that. Still love doing that. I make pipe tomahawks, which was used in our culture both as a weapon and also as a smoking device. And so try to follow and practice the traditional smudging, and I have been given an eagle feather for the traditional practice of spiritual practices. Smudging is a tradition where tobacco, and people use not only tobacco but sage, sometimes sweetgrass, sometimes other things. And what it does, it helps a person come back into balance. The smoke for us Native people represents a signal to the Creator, the great mystery. And when you use smoke for both treaties, or pipes for both treaties or smudging, that smoke goes to the Creator, and it helps us clear and balance our energy, because Cherokee medicine is all about energy and how that works and how you both protect it, use it, and knowledge it with other people about how they walk in the world. So that's done as a practice for coming into balance and coming more clear in terms of negative feelings and other things like that. The stones are laid in a sweat lodge with north, south, east, and west, the primary directions, of course. The east represents for us birth or spiritual. There's many layers, probably too many layers to go into here, but mainly it's coming into the world. You come into the world through the east, your spirit comes from the east, and that's noted by the rising of the sun. And so that's very important. The west is the way we exit the world, our physical being, and it is also so the east represents spirit. The west for us in most tribes represent the physical parts of our lives, and it's the way we exit the world. The north represents learning, wisdom, and it's a way to keep that in balance. The south is learning and playfulness, and the learning is different than wisdom, because you can learn lots of things but not be wise with it. And so and the reason we do that is the sweat lodge is about being reborn. It's coming in and coming through the spirit world into this world, and that represents the womb of our mother who gave us birth, and also the womb of Mother Earth, where we come from. There's two stones, one for mother, one for the father, and they represent different energies that we have. They represent the warrior part, and they represent the nurturing, caring part of our mothers, the strength of the mother, the courage of the father, and because men were assigned in the old days different roles, and they represented different strengths within those lives. So we're always, that going into the sweat lodge or being mindful all the time is about where we came from, because we have to honor our ancestors because they're with us all the time. And all we have to do is to call upon them to help us make decisions and to figure out the right way of relationship and how we walk in the world and how we keep balance with that. Those stones is all about balance. And that's what Cherokee medicine is about, is keeping the balance in our lives, because we're constantly doing this, trying to make sure that the walk is how do we balance and walk a life of kindness and caring. All our relations is really part of the spiritual practice, and what we talk about in that is that everything, one of the concept of Native spirituality, at least Cherokee spirituality, is respect for all things. we're all brothers and sisters. Rocks are laying brothers, trees are standing brothers, water, all the things that we're in relationship with all the time. And that being mindful and respectful of all things is really critical. And especially all the people in the world we consider brothers and sisters. We believe, from the same place. We may look different, but we're really from we call it the great mystery, the Creator. And some people call it God, and so that relationship between all our relation is really critical to be mindful all the time. We say that every step is a prayer, and how we walk in the world is a prayer all the time, if we're mindful and we don't forget about all our relation and the respect we have to walk with. I'm going to share with you my favorite Cherokee tale. It's about Kanati and Silu. Kanati was first man, and Silu was first woman. Well, like most couples, one day they got in a big fight. Who knows about what? It was lost a long time ago. And so she got really upset and angry at him. And so she took off. She just left. And he said to himself, "Oh, it's okay. I don't need her around here. It'll be fine. She'll be back." Well, she didn't come back. And after a while, he said, "It's really nice having her around. She smells good, and it's fun being with her. It's good talking with her and spending time with her." And so I said, maybe I've just been really stupid, and so I'm going to go and try to catch her and bring her back. So what he did, he started walking. Well, Silu was really mad, and she walked really fast. And so they walked into the night. She kept going, and he kept going. He could see her way off on the top of a ridge, but he just couldn't quite get there. So he kept walking and walking, and he couldn't catch up because she was walking so fast. So the Creator looked down and said, "This is not good. They should be together, and they should, I know he's trying, so I'm going to try to do something to help." So he said, the great Creator said, "I think I want to put a berry beside her." So he created huckleberries and put them by the side of the road, the path that she was walking on. But she didn't look down. She kept walking and walking. And, Kanati was not getting any closer. And the longer she goes, the madder she got. So he said, "Well, I'm going to try blackberries. Maybe blackberries would work." So he put bushes along the side so she could see the blackberries and slow down and stop and give him long enough time to get there. So that didn't work. So finally she kept going, and he said, "Well, I'm going to try something else." So created new berries, and in the field on a path that she was walking on. And so she started walking on these berries, and the berries, they smell so good. And she kept walking, and finally the smell caused her to stop and turn back and look and see what they were, because it smelled so good. So she bent down, picked up one of the berries and smelled it, and then took a bite. And it was lovely, lovely. And so she said, "Wow." And then she bent down and got another one and ate it. And then she said, "My husband would really like this." So she started picking these berries and carrying up a bunch of them to take back to him. So she started walking back, and she finally got to him and showed him the berries and shared. And so from that day on, those berries were heart-shaped, and they smelled really lovely, and they were strawberries. So strawberries cause us, in Cherokee tradition, to slow down and to remind ourselves that love needs to be nourished and people need to be taken care of. So strawberries are a way to slow down in the world and be mindful. And that's how strawberries came about.